Welcome to Grounding into Your Radiance, a space to dream, explore, and reconnect to your essential self with Stacey Barber. Stacey is a conscious mindset mentor and authentic lifestyle coach with a knack for guiding others to step into their truth and embrace times of transition with courage. Join Stacey in a space for intimate healing and growth, and get ready to face your fears so you can find deeper alignment in your life. Our stories are our light. Let them shine. Grounding into Your Radiance starts now.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome back to Grounded into Your Radiance. I'm really excited to have you here today. We're talking about something that is really personal to me and I think is going to resonate deeply with all of you. Releasing overwhelm and how to really take care of ourselves, especially right now, especially after this year, especially all that we have gone through and that we're currently going through, and really starting to think about ways that we can choose what our lives look like and feel like moving forward. So I'm Stacey Barber. I'm your host. This is a really beautiful space that I want to create together, where we can kind of play, dream a little bit, explore, and ultimately come back to who it is that you know that you are at your core, your essential self, your authentic innate being. Because what I found is that when we connect there, then the possibilities are endless. When we can get through all of the fluff that life and just circumstances have brought into our experience, then we get to connect to ourselves again. And that's a really beautiful thing to be a part of, to observe, and to experience. So my hope for you is that in this time together, that you learn something a little new and exciting. I want you to feel empowered. And I want you to mostly deeply, deeply know that you matter. And I want you to know that in this space, I want you to feel seen, heard, and loved, because isn't that all that we all really deeply want for ourselves, is to feel seen, loved, and heard. And as humans, as beings on this earth, when that's provided, then we really have all that we need, right? And how can we provide that for ourselves, right? So my work in the world that I do, I am a conscious mindset mentor and authentic life coach for women that are really ready to step into the next level of their journey, ready to embody their truth and who they know that they are, their essential self and worth, and begin to forge the path that they know that at their heart level that they truly deserve. And that's what I love being a part of. I do that in my coaching. I do that in the Pilates studio that my husband and I own, connecting and meeting people where they are and allowing them to see the possibilities that I can see in them, right? And that others can see in them, letting them start to open that up for themselves. And in my work, especially with women, and as well as in my own experience lately, there's been a real common thread or common theme that has been showing up more times than not. And I'm noticing it, especially in myself, when we begin to push up against, or when I begin to push up against an edge, right? Like that boundary, a comfort level of what I've known, right? Of having to shut down a brick and mortar business for 6 months because of COVID, having to reopen in a completely adapted way, having to move my children in and out of school, right? Like all of these things, they create a sense of unknowing, a sense of overwhelm at times, and a sense of having to expand beyond what we've known as quote unquote normal, right? And what I've noticed is that when we come to that space and when we bump up against that edges, we're really preparing to step into the next level version of who we're meant to be and what we're meant to do in the life that we're living. So today we're going to talk about those circumstances in life and how overwhelm and stress can creep in without us even knowing, how we can begin to hold things in our system that we're not even really aware of. And how can we begin the practice of releasing that, meeting those emotions, meeting those circumstances where they're at, so that we can allow them to move in and through us rather than getting stuck and stagnant in our bodies, so that we can then begin to really take care of ourselves, especially in these times. And I mean, we're all living it. We're all in it. And I think this year has shown us so much about what it feels like to not know what tomorrow brings, and allowing ourselves to be human in that experience, allowing ourselves to just be in that. What kind of permission can we give ourselves to feel the feels without letting them get stuck, to start to I've heard Tara Brach say this before, to start to sit down with the emotions and ask them in for tea, right? Can we allow that feeling of stress that's popping up in our body to just be there for a moment and really start to dig to the core of what's going on here? What's showing up for me? And can I prevent this to getting to a space of complete overwhelm, right? And how can I start to be in the dance of that in my body? So I'm curious for you, if I ask the question, what is your relationship with stress and overwhelm? Because I know all of us have a different relationship. We all have different ways of managing or being aware of it in our lives. But what is your relationship with that in your life right now? Is it an uninvited guest that keeps taking up too much of your time, more than you would wish? Is it a frequent visitor that's in your psyche and mind, right? The one that just shows up over and over, like that rinse and repeat, right? The one that just keeps coming up. For me and my personal experience, despite the best of my intentions, and I've really tried to be so intentional about this in my life, of being really conscious about where I'm spending my time and my energy, there are times that life just gets the best of me. And I have 2 young daughters. They're both in school. They both love doing things outside of school. We have friends and family. And what I know is that if I'm not really diligent about managing myself, my time, and my energy, my body stops me and it gets sick. And this happened to me a couple of weeks ago. We had been involved in a few things here and there. And I could kind of feel the whisper coming in of, you might want to take a little break. You might want to just start to invest in yourself a little bit more. And it was just my old habits came through of push through, right? And I ended up getting a sinus infection. And that for me is the light to show that, like, hey, sister, you need to like really get more deliberate and more conscious about how you're spending your time. So in that notion, just thinking about how can we begin to prioritize our health and well-being, especially in these crazy times when it's just been one of the most interesting years many of us have ever experienced. I like to think about this concept, a way that it starts to resonate with me is thinking about the idea of self-tending. Tending as if our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and our souls were a garden, like a beautiful rose garden that we have out back. If we neglect it, if we let it sit in the sun too long without giving it water, if we don't nurture the soil and start to cultivate and put really beautiful nutrients in, then it's going to get stagnant. It's going to the leaves are going to turn brown. The roses are going to get sick, right? How can we start to invite in the same tender care that we provide, like a really beautiful rose garden, into our own lives? Dedicating time to invest in ourselves, right? And invest in our lives and our well-being. And I know this looks different for everyone. And I had a really great conversation with one of my clients earlier this week. And she was saying the idea of like a ritual or a routine for her was a word that was like, a routine just feels like more work, right? Like, I don't want taking care of myself to feel like more another task. I don't want it to feel like more work. And so I invite you to consider if that's something that might be even the words that we're using, right? Is routine a morning routine or a ritual? Is that something that feels sort of draggy for you? Or is it something that like pumps you up? And is there something that feels more aligned and nourishing for you? And for her, she had spent her previous life in finance. And so we came up with this really great idea of creating, we called it current investment for future gain. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of my system, my body, to knowing, we all know, right, that it will provide future gain, future health, future happiness, all of that. And what we did is she created a jar. It was called her current investment for future gain jar. And once we got off the phone, she started creating little slabs of paper that were whatever it was for her that resonates with her. Taking a walk in the morning, right? Sitting down with a cup of coffee and really being present, meditating in that, looking at her vision board, creating time to really start to see what the next version of herself looks like, having a dance party in your living room, right? My girls love doing that. And creating this little cookie jar, right? Current investment for future gain, or whatever it is, self-love, self-tending jar, where every morning you go in and you pick out, okay, it says journaling. Does that feel aligned? Great. I'm going to journal this morning, or I'm going to meditate. And if it doesn't feel aligned, pop it back in and pull out another one, and just keep adding to the jar to give you those little moments, right? Of whatever it is that your system's calling in. And a lot of times, whatever we pull out is exactly what we're supposed to be seeing that day. So really, and I want to invite you to just take some time each day to connect, to slow down and just listen to what's showing up. And it doesn't have to be in the morning. I heard on a podcast just the other day that the universe isn't just listening in the morning, because we get so caught up in starting our day, which is very important. But what else can we do when we're in our car driving to work? Can we visualize a beautiful afternoon, or can we soak in the sunset, whatever it is, right? Whatever's coming up, because we have opportunities throughout our day to be able to truly invest in our well-being. And I just want you to start to cultivate that for yourself. And I want you to consider, in what areas of your life do you experience those times that stress and overload and overwhelm come up, right? For me, it was overcompensating myself and spending too much of my energy outward. Can you start to notice these effects that these feelings are having on your body and mind, and what might be a different, more aligned choice for you in those moments? And just start to let that bubble up. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to go on a quick break, but we're going to dive right into all of this when we come back. So I can't wait to see you back in just a moment. We're going to take a really quick break. You're listening to Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm your host, Stacey Barber, and I will see you in just a bit.
Transition, simultaneously the most difficult and vital part of the human experience. Without change, how would we grow? Tune in to Grounding into Your Radiance with Stacey Barber every second and fourth Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Step into your truth and allow the light into your life. For more information about Stacey and her services, visit StaceyBarber.com. That's Stacey, STACIE, Barber.com.
Raising the vibrations through stimulating conversations while exploring the mysteries of Atlantis and Lemuria on Tales from the Merworld Radio with me, Amira Beth. Join us every second and fourth Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Be ready to feel empowered and an active part of the changing earth. For more information about me, visit amirabeth.com.
Hello, I'm Carrie Kadambi, and this is your Spirited Exchange Moment. Have you been searching everywhere for answers? Do you long for wise guidance to lovingly direct you? Guess what? You have your very own divine spirit guides in the highest light, available 24/7, just waiting to help you live your best life. Call in your spirit guidance on a daily basis to help you make important decisions. All you have to do is ask, with a sense of openness, curiosity, and willingness to be divinely guided. Throughout your day, be open to notice what shows up for you. A spoken phrase, a book, a message from a song, or simply a knowing. And always offer gratitude for that loving guidance, and don't forget to put it into action. Join me on Transformation Talk Radio for my show, A Spirited Exchange. For more information about me, visit thedivineguidancegift.com.
Are you ready to invest in your best self? Join Sabrina Wright as she shares practical tools for creating joy and balance in your life every single day. Sabrina is here to help you become your greatest advocate and empower you to make decisions that will help you learn to live your best life. Live the good life, connecting your physical and spiritual self with Sabrina Wright. Every second Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Are you ready to branch out? Take a leap of faith. Tune in to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills on TransformationTalkRadio.com to equip, empower, and enlighten yourself. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. So, get fearlessly ready and get powerfully rooted in your yes to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Visit GetRootedRadio.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm your host, Stacey Barber. I'm honored to spend this hour with you. I hope you walk away feeling really seen and heard, and knowing that you matter, and that these topics are things that are coming straight from my heart, things that I'm seeing and experiencing in my life, and then also in the lives of people that I love. So I hope this resonates with you. And I would love to hear from you. I would love to have you either email me, reach out, check out my website. Just let me know how this is resonating with you and what you'd like to hear more about. So just to let you guys know, my email is stacy.barber@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at Stacey Barber Coaching, and my website is stacybarber.com, and that's Stacy with an IE. So I'd love to hear from you. Reach out. And before break, I asked you guys to start to consider what areas of your life do you start to experience these little habitual areas of stress and overload and overwhelm come in, and starting to take time to notice how that's showing up in your body and how it's feeling in your mind and your system. Like, what's really coming out of that? What are you feeling bubble up? And also consider what might be a different, more aligned way for you to make choices for yourself in those moments. I'm just curious about what came up for you personally. And again, for me, I'd like to speak from my experience, because I feel like when we speak from our experience, we speak to someone who's also going through those same things. And for me, those moments, they sneak in when I have too much on my plate. And this has been something that I have been consciously working on for quite some time now, that it will also start to creep in without really my awareness or my eye on it. And really making sure that I start to listen to those little nudges, right? Of giving myself the permission to say no, right? Or if it feels like an absolute yes, like feeling okay with that, and then really being aware of what else my time and energy is going towards in that week or that month or that day, right? Not having too many activities or obligations, extracurricular activities on my schedule, my family schedule, and my children's schedule, right? And I've noticed for me, it tends to show up when a few different ways, but when I hold this habit, this habitual preference in my mind of perfectionism, right? And when I'm starting to hold myself to a completely unrealistic expectation, one that I have no business setting for myself, right? That puts me in a space of where I'm really stretching myself thin, wanting to show up in all areas of my life 100%, right? And really asking my body and mind and spirit in those moments, like, is this really what I'm supposed to be spending my energy on? Yes or no, right? And especially for women, I've noticed sometimes we have a really hard time with saying no. We have been culturally sort of brought up to make sure that everything and everybody else around us is okay, right? I think about my grandmother cooking Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, and she makes sure that everybody else is fed before she makes her plate, right? And it's just this thing that we've seen and that we've grown up with, or that we've just acknowledged as a thing. And how can we start to cultivate and hold deep the awareness and knowing that if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not feeding ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually, then we're not going to be able to show up the way that we want to, right? And we're not going to be able to really show up 100%, right? And what the last year has done for me is it allowed, I call it like the amazing pause, like somebody hit the pause button, right? And I know it didn't feel like that for everyone. Personal experience again. For me, it provided this opportunity to completely hit the pause button, go inward, start to to really listen and reorient and remind myself what it is that matters, what it is that is important. Spending time with my children that I never would have gotten, right? We're at home, we're like spending, all of these days and evenings and just coming up with really fun things to do. And what I've looked at that as is it really provided a way to be able to wipe the slate clean, right? That anything that was happening before COVID, we had a choice and still actively have a choice to be able to choose what it is that we want to reinvest ourselves in. Do we want our kids to be signed up for all the activities and sports? Do we want to have every weekend booked completely full with friends and family? What is it? Like, what is it that we want to spend our time doing? And what I really love to utilize in this moment is in NLP, it's called end result imagery. What is it that at the end of 2021, do I want my life to have looked like, to have felt like, right? To have been like? What is it that I can envision for myself that knowing that choices I make today are going to get me to that destination, are going to get me into that image that I see for myself, and starting to embody that now, being that person, right? You guys have heard me say being as if, acting as if I'm already there, letting that start to become a reality, and really allowing ourselves and knowing that when we see it, we believe it. Right? Our minds know no difference. If we create a vision, our mind and our system know no different than if it happened or if it hasn't. It just assumes that it's already there. So in that, this is something, again, that you guys are going to hear me talk about a lot. Like the first step of any type of change or any way of starting to really step back and look at things is becoming really aware and honest with ourselves. What are our habitual tendencies? What are the things that we have on rinse, repeat, right? What are the loops that we're seeing ourselves get caught up in? Because when we can begin to look through that lens and provide some empathy for ourselves, that we're humans having a spiritual experience in this world and spirits having a human experience in this world, that we're doing the best we can and taking back the ownership of each choice that I make today is going to create the reality that I'm going to experience next week, next month, next year, right? Versus this rigidity and levels of expectation, right? That I think is far too common when we start to hold ourselves and others to the standard that's unrealistic. Can we just provide the grace and empathy that we would a really dear friend or a child, right? And release the stronghold that this stress and overwhelm and all of these things coming in have on our systems to move forward in a more healthy and aligned way, right? I remember speaking just last week about this feeling, how I was feeling tired and overwhelmed and frustrated with myself because I had let myself get there again, right? Quote unquote, let myself get there again. And I was on it's a great thing. Every week, the girls that I went through my life coaching program, we all get together and we reconnect, and I'm talking to them and we talk about pretty much everything. And one of my dear sisters, she sat and listened and let me express everything I needed to. And in the midst of me trying to explain all the things and all the obligations and all the jobs that I'd signed myself up for again, she said, she provided an invitation for me. And she asked, can you start to give yourself the permission to own and know deep down, own the fact that you actually don't have to do any of these things, that you don't have to do everything, that even though this is something that you've created in your mind as a non-negotiable that you're already signed up for, or it's a good thing, but it's exhausting or what, that if we can step back and give ourselves the permission to know that we actually don't have to do any of the things, that we actually begin to provide a sense of knowing what we truly want to do, getting honest with ourselves. Is this something in my life that's bringing me joy? Is this something in my life that's filling me up? Or is this something in my life that's actually depleting me or exhausting all of my energetic loads that I worked so hard to put back in, right? Getting honest about how it is that we're spending our days, getting honest with how we are allowing the energetic exchange in each and every moment affect us, right? Who is it that we're spending our time with? What is it that we're calling in? Who is it that we're starting to do, work with? What does the work environment look like? What does our home environment look like? Being really honest about those things, because they can be something that builds us up, or they can be things that start to really deplete our energetic load. And really allowing this little reminder, because we all need this, right? No matter how much of self-improvement work or self-help work or just downright the work that we've been doing, like remembering that we're human, that we're going to trip and we're going to fall. And then we're going to be able to look back and say, oh, you know what? That was the same speed bump that got me last time. So what do I need to know about myself? What is it that I need to start to shift in my belief and value system to provide myself the ability to get back up, turn around, see what it was, be honest with myself, and start to shift, right? I talked about this last on our last call, last show. It's the power of choice, owning that. It is a human superpower. If we use it for the greater good, right? Is it good for me? Is it good for those around me? Is it good for the system at whole, right? Like starting to really look at our daily choices and how it's affecting our lives. So letting that start to cultivate, let that marinate a bit. And I just want to prompt a few questions for you, really thinking about in our system, where does overwhelm show up in your body? For me, I can feel it in my chest. My shoulders feel heavy. I can feel it in my low back. Where is it showing up for you? And then what emotions are you aware of in those moments? And I want to start to provide you the permission to look at those emotions and feelings as just that, just being part of our human experience. No more, no less. We are meant to experience the whole range. And what nudges, right? What little whispers could you have tapped into before, right? Those whispers before it gets louder and louder and louder. What are those little gentle nudges that the universe is dropping in? So I want you to start to think about that. Just really begin to get curious. And we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, I want to talk about what stress and overwhelm look like in our bodies and ways that we can begin to really start to deeply care for ourselves. We're going to learn some beautiful techniques coming up. So I can't wait to see you back in a bit. You're listening to Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm Stacey Barber, and I'll see you in just a bit.
Did you know that when we talk about the Earth's ecosystems, the most important ecosystem has been left out? We created the ecosystem approach to recapture human potential.
Find us at theecosystemapproach.org.
Join us every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
I'm Patricia McNair, host of Divine Guidance with Patricia, and I'm here to help you live a more authentic, spiritually connected life. Join me every first and third Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Being who you are in everyday life is the key to unlocking soul wisdom within that our whole self already knows. Get ready to embrace your spiritual, mental, and emotional well-being, your whole being. Discover your gifts and strengthen your connection to spirit. We will explore earth guidance, divine truth and love, past life lessons, and so much more. So listen in to Divine Guidance with Patricia and join in your personal adventure to triggering, opening, validating, and being all that you are. For more information about me, visit divineguidance.earth.
Heaven on Earth, your online school of divinity, building your inner coach as you lay down your foundation in the new earth with you as the authority. Take action now. The number one challenge people face every day is the negative voice in their head. We work each day to turn negatives into positives. It's all a matter of perception. Our challenge at this time is to remain intensely positive and focused, creating the world we wish to live in. Wake Up on Purpose with Cornelia's daily online positive messages guiding us in the new paradigm. Raise yourself into happiness and inner peace daily. Elevate your personal frequency, free from negativity, and reprogram yourself step by step, shifting your energy patterns with positive repetition, daily building your new earth with someone you trust. All the heavy lifting has been done for you. Wake Up Happy with Cornelia Stephanie, VIP.com. Try free for 7 days now.
Stuck in a roundabout of dysfunction? Learn how to speak your truth to power with host Dr. Kathy Obear. Create real change with smart tools and smart strategies. No frills, no fluff, just life-changing conversations to help get you where you want to be. Extend your reach and become an agent for real change with Kathy Obear. For more information on Kathy and her work, please visit drkathyobear.com. That's drkathyobear.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm Stacey Barber. I am so excited to continue this conversation with you. I am loving being able to be in this realm with you, and I would love to hear from you. Reach out to me with anything. My email is stacy.barber@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at Stacey Barber Coaching, and my website is staceybarber.com. And what I really want to cultivate in this space is, in this time together, is giving you permission to dream a little bit. Really start to think about what it is that you are being called forward to in your life. Explore all of those possibilities. And in that process, really start to reconnect back with who you are at your core, your essential self, right? Your innate being. And reach out. I'd love to hear from you guys. So before we went on break, I just started to invite you to consider where overwhelm shows up in your body physically, where you start to feel it, and what emotions start to be coupled with that, right? In those moments of stress and overwhelm. Is it irritability? Is it anxiousness? What is it that starts to show up? And again, inviting all of that in for tea, begin to look at the emotion and feeling just as that. Give yourself the freedom to allow the permission of those to move through, those emotions to move through, as being just simply part of our human experience. And allowing that to move through us by moving in, we get to move through and we release that, right? So that we do start to cultivate a new way of being, and really starting to zoom out and get honest with ourselves about where are those little nudges that we could have tapped into before, right? When I start to feel my schedule getting filled up, and I notice that feeling in my chest or my shoulders. In that moment, what choice can we make? Can we make a better, different choice for ourselves, right? And starting to listen to the nudges, the little whispers, because I like to say the body has a way of gently nudging, like a little tap on the shoulder, a little whisper, and then the voice gets a little louder, right? And then a little louder. And if we don't start to listen when those things are coming in at those levels, then the body starts to scream, right? And that could mean that you have an injury, or that could mean that you are completely overwhelmed, you're completely exhausted, that something shows up in your life, an illness, right? Anything. Just starting to cultivate this relationship with yourself so that you can start to really feel what's happening, right? Before we get to that space. And that's what we're talking about, right? How can we really self-tend in a way that is authentic and meaningful for us, that helps us care for ourselves day in and day out before we get to a space of, again, right, overload. Right. And being really honest, I know that a lot of us know this, but I think it's worthy to note here again, right? That stress has a huge effect on our body, huge effect. There have been numerous books, articles, all the things written about how stress negatively affects our body, right? It can be deeply debilitating, physically, emotionally. It can really feel like that heavy, heavy, heavy blanket, right? And over the years, researchers have learned not only how and why these reactions to stress occur, or reactions to overwhelm or whatever, the stress response, but they've also gained immense insight into like long-term effects of chronic stress and how that has physical and psychological effects on our health. And really starting to look at like each day, day in and day out, how those little stress reactions, those triggers come in, if it's in traffic or if it's when we're rushing in the morning, if it's when something hasn't gone right, if we've missed a meeting or whatever it is, how can we start to cultivate, again, a way of giving ourselves that grace and empathy that we would a dear friend or a loved one, and bringing ourselves back down into that space of homeostasis, that space of being in a healthy space within our lives to say, you know what, this is okay. And this too shall pass, right? Because that repeated activation of the stress response really takes a toll on our entire body. And we know that stress contributes to all types of debilitating illness, high blood pressure. It promotes, formation of artery clogging deposits in the heart, brain changes, right? Brings on a sense of anxiety, depression, a lot of addiction, right? That sense of this is too much. How can I numb out? How can I hide from this? Right. And really starting to, again, prevention, like get in that mindset of preventative care. How can I start to see the nudges, hear the nudges, listen to the whispers so that I don't feel my body going here? And even if you are here, right? Even if you are in that space of like, hey, by the way, Stacey, I'm the one that's completely overwhelmed. I'm, my schedule, like I'm to the top, like my level has been hit. I'm full. What can you do now? What are those things that we can start to really call in to be able to nurture ourselves, right? Like it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves. And how can that really start to be cultivated day in and day out in our lives? Having fun with it, right? Again, finding things that are really nurturing to you. If it's being outside, if it's calling up a friend, whatever it is, because what I know in our current realm, where we sit in this moment today in December of 2020, stress is a familiar friend. Right? It shows up in places that we might never have even imagined or suggested. And when it does, it's taking its toll on us. And how can we start to be proactive in our choices in our lives to begin to release this repeat offender, see that it's showing up, right? And then begin to really start to deeply care for ourselves. I mentioned this before, but the power of no has been so paramount in my life in regards to my schedule, in regards to things that I feel like I might have been obligated to do before in the past. If it's not an absolute yes in my system, then being okay and saying no. It's a tiny little word that holds a lot of emotion, right? Just being able to say, no, this doesn't apply to me now, or this isn't something that I really want to invest myself in, and just leaving it there. Because what we tend to do is we say no, but then we try to explain, right? Just know that saying no is okay. Like really allow yourself that. If that's the only thing you take from this hour, allow yourself the permission to be able to say no, because there's power in that no, right? And can we also, be in the space of thank you for the invitation. I love you. And this is not right for me right now. This is not something that feels aligned. And really becoming aware of what is it that, again, right? What is it that I do want my life to look like, feel like, and be like, right? Getting honest about whose standards we're holding for ourselves. Is this something that we're holding for ourselves personally? Is this something that we've been told to do, a way to be, a way to act, to show up, to be seen, right? Is that yours or is that someone else's? Giving yourself the freedom to make that choice. And really thinking about the journey of our lives. I think so many of us, and myself included, have at times created this picture of what it is my life wants to look like. And I'm in a hurry to get there, right? It's like step after step after step, following the stones down the path. And in that process, I have to be honest with myself that at times that did not bring me joy. I was not having fun. And when we're not having fun, when we're pushing the lens of whatever it is that's actually happening in our lives into something that we think that we want or we think that we need, right? When we aren't in the present moment, enjoying who we are, where we are, what we have, then we're not enjoying the destination, like the journey to the destination. And so what happens when we get there, then we look back and we're like, oh, okay, now I'm here. What was all of that for, right? Starting to drop back into the present moment, right? And ask yourself, like, what are my personal measurements for success today in my life? Is it that I took 10 minutes this morning to be quiet with myself, right? And really being honest about that, because I think there's so many times we get caught up in other people's values or external validation, right? And how can we just start to ask, like, what is that covering up for us? Like, is it something that we could actually provide for ourselves that we're looking outward for? How does this show up for you in your experience? And I love this, this quote from Dr. Robert Augustus Masters in his book, Emotional Intimacy. And I feel it's really relevant in this moment, in this topic that we're turning into today. It's, instead of turning away from your pain, sit with it for a bit, right? Like we were saying, invite it in for tea until you and it are on the same side, ready for a needed ride. The pressure to be positive and therefore not negative strands us from our darkness and its riches, right? Our darkness and its riches, including what can be mined from becoming intimate with our difficult emotions and the negative states into which we may funnel or enlist them. Becoming intimate with our difficult emotions, allowing them to be there, asking what they're there to teach us, and allowing that simply to be. So with these words, I just want you to consider to really allow that truth to seep into your life, into your mind, into your knowing. Yeah, just sit with that for a moment. And I want to allow you to marinate on that. When we come back, I want to introduce or possibly reintroduce you to a really powerful practice that I use in my life to work with stress and overwhelm, to begin to clear the energy in my system. Emotional freedom technique or tapping. I'm going to take you guys through a really lovely sequence all on this topic. So I can't wait to see you back. You're listening to Grounding into Your Radiance. I'm your host, Stacey Barber, and I will see you in just a bit.
Do you need a makeover on your finances? Do you have more month at the end of your money? Do you wonder where all your money goes? Donna at Palmore has been helping people since 2015 gain control of money so they can live out their purpose. If you need help or know someone that does, go to proverbsfinancialcoaching.com to book your free 30-minute consultation.
Are you ready to let go of the I can'ts that are holding you down? Valerie Trujillo invites you to join her community on a mission to collectively heal as a tribe, where your vulnerability is heard and reciprocated. So tune in to Love and Light with the Crystal Blue Oracle every second and fourth Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information about Valerie and her work, visit crystalblueoracle.com.
Hi, I'm Laura Goldstein, and here's a Coffee with the Universe tip. Let me ask you, how do you start your day? Do you wake up anxious and on edge, already feeling the pressure of your giant to-do list? Or do you wake up feeling calm, collected, and excited to start your day? Here's the little secret. How you start your day sets the tone and foundation for the rest of your day. A stressed morning creates a stressed, just reacting to everything day. A calm and connected to self morning leads to aligned and confident choices that help you reach your goals. So take a good look at your morning routine. What can you do to set up a healthy foundation for your day? To get some ideas and a sneak peek into my own Coffee with the Universe morning routine, go to www.coffeewiththeuniverse.net.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm really excited to have you back. This segment is going to be jam-packed with really, really great tools for you to be able to really address any sense of overwhelm or stress in your life. Welcome to Ground Into Your Radiance. I'm your host, Stacey Barber, and I am just so honored to have you with me today. And as we dive into the topic of overwhelm and stress in our lives, a topic I'm sure most, if not all of us, can relate to on some level, I really want to invite in also that energy of empathy and grace, of meeting ourselves where we're at, giving ourselves the permission to invite in forgiveness, and allowing ourselves to truly stand in the knowing that we're all doing the best that we can, and that we have a choice each and every day as to what it is that we're going to spend our energy, our time, and our resources on. So before break, I mentioned a really powerful practice to work with stress and overwhelm that begins to clear the energy in our systems. And if you haven't heard of it, it's amazing. I use it in my life very often. It's called emotional freedom technique, or tapping, right? Or sometimes called EFT. So what is emotional freedom technique? So it is a therapy or a technique that's really loosely based on the techniques of acupuncture and acupressure. So it uses the same basic energy meridians in the body to eliminate physical, emotional, and mental issues, right? So we're tapping into the energetic meridians or systems, little highways in our body. And what we're doing is we're releasing any areas of congestion, right? Or heaviness, so that all the energy can move, because we're energetic beings, right? And so allowing that energy to move in a flow, right? Like efficiently. And EFT works on the basis that anyone or someone, anyone that's feeling like those, what we've been talking about, kind of those lower vibrational emotional states like stress, overwhelm, sadness, anger, shame, right? It is simply an imbalance in our energetic system, looking at it as that there is kind of like sludge in the system, right? If you think about pipes, plumbing pipes, like allowing the water to move through, it's very similar, right? And if we can look at when we're in these lower vibrational states, when we're in that space in our body, if we can allow just that knowing that, yes, there is sludge in the system. Yes, there is a way that I can start to move that through, and then actively implement that in. So with EFT, we balance the energy system of the body to relieve these issues. And it's through the way that the modality is by tapping on exact points that are actually used in acupuncture. So when you tap on the points, you give yourself the opportunity to balance the flow. And in my training with Yes Supply, I love the way they put this. It's like tap on everything, tap on anything that's going on, right? If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling whatever, just tap on it, because it's allowing the energetic systems to start to release what's holding them up so that the flow can happen more effectively. And what emotional freedom technique, the basis, it states that the cause of all negative emotion is simply a disruption of the body's energy system, right? So our bodies experience negative emotions in a certain way. They experience positive emotions in a certain way. And when we can be in that knowing that it's simply just an imbalance in the system, this tool can be so extremely powerful in coming back to energetic flow. So the basic recipe, right, of EFT, there's 3 components, there's 3 segments or steps. Number 1 is the setup, right? And the setup is the space where we begin to get really clear on how we feel. I like to think of this as an affirmation. This is what's happening in my body now, right? Being really clear about what that is. Number 2 is the sequence. And this is about being honest about what's showing up in our bodies, in our system, in our energy. Right. And number 3 is called the suggestion component, right? Suggesting and bringing in new ways of being. Again, thinking about that individual, that person that we choose to be or want to be, right? Bringing those qualities in. And I'm going to run through the points for you that we'll be tapping on together. And different techniques start in different places. We start at the top of the head. So there is a point at the top of the head. I like to use 2 hands to just get a little bit more flow in there, right? It's like we're getting all the energy going in. So top of the head, above your eyebrow, right above your eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, your chin, collarbone, and then under the arm, right? And you can look, like if you need to see a diagram, just Google EFT and it'll pull those up so that you can visualize them while we're doing this together. And I want you to think each time that you tap on the point, you're going to tap about 7 to 10 times. And I'm going to take you through the sequence, but each time you're going to repeat the name of the problem or the specified, or, what we've set up in the setup or the suggestions. So what we're going to talk about with this sequence is we're going to talk about stress and overwhelm, right? And how we're going to start to move that through in our bodies. So the setup, number 1, right? It's going to be, we call it the karate chop point, right? But it's that on the pinky side of your hand, right there, that little kind of fatty part, right? And we're going to start to tap there for the setup. And we're going to repeat something together 3 times to really set up the whole sequence. So as you're sitting there, I want you to start to tap on that karate chop point. You can use 2 fingers, or if you want, you can actually use the other karate chop point on your other hand, whatever works for you. And I want you to repeat this with me. Even though I have this stress and overwhelm in my life, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Good. And again, even though I have this stress and overwhelm in my life, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Good. Just keep tapping on the point one more time. Even though I have this stress and overwhelm in my life, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Beautiful. Now we're going to go into the sequence. Starting at the top of the head, I just want you to start tapping down. Good. This stress. Good. Now move to the top of the eyebrow. This overwhelm. Just keep tapping there. Beautiful. Outside of the eye. This stress that I feel in my body. Down below the nose. I invite it in now. Good. To the chin. This overwhelm. To the collarbone. I feel it in my body and I invite it in now. Good. Under the arm. This stress and this overwhelm that I feel in my body, I invite it in now. Good. Top of the head. This stress. Above the eyebrow. This overwhelm. Side of the eye, this stress. Under the eye, this overwhelm. Under the nose, this stress. To the chin, this overwhelm. Collarbone, this stress and overwhelm. Under the arm, I invite it in now. Beautiful. To the top of the head. Even though I feel this stress, I love myself deeply. To the top of the eyebrow, I accept that these are all human emotions. Side of the eye, I know I can make better choices for myself. Under the eye, I trust my gut and inner knowings for what's best for me. Under the nose, I choose to listen versus numbing out. To the chin now. I know that I deserve uninhibited joy and pleasure in my life. To the collarbone, I believe in the power of this work. Good. Under the arm, I call in ease, peace, and goodness into my life now. Back to the top of the head, I love myself deeply. Above the eyebrow, I accept all these are all human emotions. Side of the eye, I know I can make better choices for myself. Under the eye, I trust my gut and inner knowings for what's best for me. Under the nose, I choose to listen versus numbing out. To the chin, I know that I deserve uninhibited joy and pleasure in my life. Collarbone, I believe in the power of this work. Under the arm, I call in ease. I call in peace and I call in goodness into my life now. Rest your arms down. Take a nice deep breath in. come back to this practice. Use it for anything that's showing up in your life. It is a true life changer. Make it your own. You have the power in you now. You have the tools. Start to begin to cultivate what it is that you know that you deeply deserve in your life. And I can't wait to be witness to that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Stacey Barber. This is Grounding into Your Radiance, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Grounding into Your Radiance, where you become empowered to face change and transition from a place of clarity. Learn to shed your layers and declutter the space between your story and your truth. Do you feel a little lighter now? Tune in next time for more opportunities to explore, dream, and reconnect with your essential self with Stacey Barber. For more information about Stacey and her services, visit staceybarber.com. That's Stacey, STACIE Barber.com.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.